Audio Jungle.
Dear Raiders fans, respectfully, you are 100% wrong. But regardless, the comments watching, thank you so much. One, the comments are hilarious. Like, you're stupid. like, like, get rid of the podcast gear. Like, it's over. Stop making content. Like, that honestly, the comments are the funniest part. But if you guys don't think that I'm going to come back and stand on business in the comments, like, welcome back to the channel, because you don't know me, but now you will get to know me. So first, comments, everything, all the support. I know that like it's hate or whatever, but at the end of the day, you guys are supporting the channel, so I appreciate that. Me and Noah thought that shit was hilarious, so thank you. And as for the don't quit your day job comments, I mean, obviously this is a YouTube channel of like 50 subscribers. I would hope we didn't quit our day jobs, because that would be stupid. Anyway, let's get into some facts, because obviously even some content this week actually came out, like viral content on X about the Raiders, and I think it was interesting and kind of plays more into like what we were talking about. So first, Josh Jacobs actively saying that he left because of the losing culture with the Raiders. They pretty much asked him to take a pay cut, and he sat there and thought, why would I take a pay cut on a team where we really don't have a chance to win? That's somebody who was viewed as a leader in the locker room, who played there for multiple years and came out and said that in the media. I thought that was pretty telling. Next, Tay Adams, trade rumors to the Jets. Obviously, everybody saw the Aaron Rodgers clip of him walking off the golf course and saying, yeah, I can't wait to play with Tay again. Brees Hall sat down with Kay Adams, said that they were going to get Tay. I honestly think this is a non-zero chance that this happens. I mean, I don't know why they would be talking about it. I don't know what it looks like yet, but based on my last video, you probably know that I think that would be a positive for the Jets. I mean, for the Raiders, get rid of Tay Adams, an old, expensive piece, give him to the Jets and get the most value that you can get out of him, like right now, because probably before this season will be the most trade value that you'll be able to get out of Tay, like for the foreseeable future. So get rid of him now before he's not worth anything. Next, the Netflix Receiver Show, which I don't know if anybody has watched that. It's pretty good. But one of the things that stuck out, obviously, Tay seemed extremely unhappy all last season. Pretty much said like, man, like I'm gonna die out there if I keep getting hit like this. I've never got hit like this in my entire career. Then came out and all the rumors that came out, like he signed off on getting Jimmy G bench, because if he didn't, he said that he was just gonna flat leave. I know that was when Josh McDaniels was in the building, so don't start freaking out in the comments. But I think it really goes to show you how unhappy Tay was, even after Jimmy G left. It's not like he had a great year. He had his best game while Jimmy G was the starting QB. And I just think that that's really telling about how negative the culture was in there, and how realistic these guys think they have to get over the hump and actually be a competing team in the NFL at this point. What I said about Tay Adams, I'm gonna have to stand on that. He had his worst season since 2019, where he missed 5 games. He had 1,144 yards and 8 touchdowns. I mean, at 32 years old, he's making $28 million per year, which is the 6th highest paid wide receiver, and that's like a 2-year-old deal. I know I said that he was the highest paid wide receiver. Up to this summer, he was, so my bad for saying that. I know that, like, if you don't say the exact right thing, that everybody freaks out, especially when they disagree with you. But let's keep it real. You have Tay Adams as a luxury piece in this offense. And I think that when he's taking up 13% of the cap, that is an absolutely awful way to spend your resources. And that's not a hot take. That's not anything. There are just very glaring holes in this roster. I know people like Kolton Miller, the left tackle, which is cool. He's a good left tackle, but I think the rest of the O-line has a lot to be desired. I think that outside of Max Crosby on that defense, I think a lot of those guys played above their level last year, but I think that they have a weak secondary. And I think that outside of the wide receiving room, I think every other spot and the tight end room, I think every other spot on that defense other than Max Crosby and the receiving room could be upgraded. And I look at a receiving room that is as expensive and has like the amount of depth and experience in there as a luxury piece, especially when you don't have a quarterback to throw them to. I saw an interesting tweet from Warren Sharp from Sharp Football Analysis, where Devonta Adams was targeted 26 times on deep balls for 20 plus yards last season. He had 0 drops on the 26 targets, but he only caught 4 of the 26. That's because nearly 60% of his targets were inaccurate. That's most of any receiver in 2023 or 2022, 2021, or 2020. He was just flat doing cardio. We'll get into AOC in a second. Let me finish out my Tay Adams piece and then I'll move on to that. So having one of the most expensive wide receivers in the game on the wrong side of 30 is with legitimately one of the most inaccurate quarterbacks in the entire NFL is a bad use of resources. That's not an argument. That's just if you don't think that, then like whatever, you must be a big Tay Adams fan and just want him on the team. I get it. Now let's have the AOC conversation. He played in 11 games last season. He started in 10. He went 5-5. He had a 62% completion percentage, 29th in the NFL. QBR 40.5, 25th in the NFL. 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. I mean, that's bottom half of the league. So at best, he's a game manager. And that's me trying to see the absolute best in him. But we are talking about him being a game manager while being also the most inaccurate quarterback in the NFL. And those things just flat don't go together. And everybody's like, well, he might develop and Joe Burrow had a bad. Stop it. You guys just sat here in the comments and said how fucking loaded this roster was. You have it. You have your left tackle, right? You have Tay Adams, one of the best receivers in the NFL in the late 2010s to now. You have Jacoby Myers is a great slot receiver, and you have Michael Mayer, and you had Josh Jacobs last season. Those are all who led the league in rushing 2 years ago. Those are all pieces that when you put around a rookie quarterback that you expect to at least see some sort of flashes out of him. And I know people said they saw flashes. Please comment YouTube clips of the flashes that you saw last season, because I personally saw nothing. Now to get more in depth into this, EPA per play minus 0.74. That's 28th. That's expected points per added. Success rate 41.5%. That's 29th. CPOE, completion percentage over expectation, negative 5.1%. That's Zach Wilson. Like, and that's no disrespect. I don't think anybody is going to sit here and be like, well, yeah, Zach Wilson showed flashes and did that. Zach Wilson's bad. And that's what AOC did last season is who Zach Wilson is, except he's not as mobile. So yeah, I don't really see too much to be happy about from the AOC conversation. And I don't think that that's extremely like unfair to say. And they brought in Luke Getsy, who struggled to develop Justin Fields, and they moved on from him. They moved on from Justin Fields from Chicago, and they also moved on from Luke Getsy as an OC in Chicago after keeping Eberflus. And it's not like you're saying like, oh, like AOC has Kyle Shanahan. Like he has Luke Getsy. He does not have an offensive guru to sit there and truly develop him. So yes, I'm low on AOC, and I don't foresee him being the starter this season long term. And if they do, I mean, I just think that the offense is going to look really bad. AP is a nice story, but he will fail. And that is no disrespect. He has never been a coordinator. He has never been a head coach at a high level. And he has never done anything, and he has a lot to prove. What the Raiders did with him was a vibes hire, and it was a flat bad hire. And it was good for the short term to keep the guys in the core happy, like Max Crosby. But for the long term of the football team, this was a bad move. It was. And like I said before, if he goes out and proves me wrong, it is what it is. But let's go into his coaching history. The one time that he was a head coach was a high school football team in California. Next, Arizona State, linebackers coach. Arizona State, assistant to the head coach and co-D coordinator. Do we remember what happened in Arizona State? All the infractions for recruiting and everything like that, had to fire the entire staff. Next, Raiders linebackers coach. Interim head coach, Raiders head coach. I mean, yeah, sorry, I don't believe in that resume. When there's a lot of guys who have long accomplished, I know that he has a long accomplished playing career, but coaching is completely different. So when everybody's freaking out in the comments saying like Sean Payton hasn't done anything, or why would you put Sean Payton above Antonio Pierce? Sean Payton has won a Super Bowl, a lot of playoff games, and I've seen him do it. I know everybody loves to sit around and say, if this, but that. No, I've seen Sean Payton accomplish it. And I don't think he has the best roster right now. But from a flat coaching perspective, yes, I do think the Broncos have a better coaching staff than the Raiders do right now. That's not, again, not a hot take, not anything, not you don't know football. Like, if you don't think that a guy who's won a ton of games, ton of playoff games, has won a Super Bowl is not a better coach than AP, like, you're biased. You like the Raiders, and that's fine. Now, let's get into the Raiders last season, because everyone was extremely excited about them winning 8 games, but you were in a division with the Broncos, who I think everybody can kind of sit here and say they were a dumpster fire a little bit last year. Next, a hurt Chargers team. They were dismantled, lost Herbert. Brandon Staley was, the fact that he didn't get fired last season, that's a different conversation. We might have it one day. And you beat Mahomes once, and you still only had 8 wins. That's your ceiling. That is your ceiling. You caught the Broncos on a bad season. They might have a bad year again this year. You caught the Chargers on the back half in the second game that you played with a completely dismantled team, and you beat Mahomes once, and you only had 8 wins. That is the ceiling of this football team. Now, let's get into their season a little bit more. They played 10 quarterbacks who were benched or backups in 2023. Kenny Pickett, Mac Jones, Tyson Bagent, Tommy DeVito, Zach Wilson, Nick Mullins, Eason Stick, Gardner Minshew, Jared Stidham, Russell Wilson. I mean, you guys lost 3-0 to a Nick Mullins-led Vikings team. Like, give me a break. You guys are acting like I'm, like, reaching at this point. That list of quarterbacks are bad quarterbacks that you matched up against. Yes, you beat Mahomes at Arrowhead. Awesome win. That was amazing. Listen, I love watching the Chiefs lose just as much as you guys do. Believe that. But I think that their record and some of the games are a little bit fluky just based off of how many quarterbacks they played who were backups. That's 7 backups in that list right there this season. Herbert twice, Mahomes twice, Deshaun Watson, Stafford, Burrow, Tua, Cousins, T-Law. I mean, I can go on and on about the Raiders, but if, like I said, I think that if the Raiders fans can't sit here and I mean, I texted my 2 friends who were Raiders fans, his dad and his son, and they were like, "We're going to win 11 games." I was like, "If you think you're going to win 11 games with the quarterback room that you have, and with Mahomes and Herbert in the same division, I really think that the Raiders fans should lower their expectations." And I think that if you think that this team is trending in a positive direction, that's fine. You're a fan. You're supposed to think that. But also, you need people to also think objectively about your football team, because that's what I'm doing. And I think that there's a lot to be desired with this football team. I don't love the quarterback room. I don't love Luke Getsy as the offensive coordinator hire. And I think Antonio Pierce was a pure vibes hire. And I think that we're going to see that play out negatively. So, last video about the Raiders fans, you showed the fuck up in the comments, and I appreciate you guys. And thanks for coming at me, because that shit was hilarious. I hope you guys watched this video too. And if you don't come back, if you don't fuck with me, whatever, I don't care. But thank you guys for watching. And Raiders fans, hey, if I'm wrong, come back in the comments and fucking dismantle me. But if I'm right, remember what I said.
Audio Jungle.